Hey there YouTube, here's what I am working on this weekend. Actually, here's what I finished this weekend, and it's all done. It's an Alaskan chainsaw mill. I've actually just made some small changes to what all the other ones are, so there's small differences that I'll show you. It's actually made to go on the way I made it is I made it to go on a 24-inch bar. Right now I have a Husky saw that has an 18-inch bar, hence this is spread to that size, but you can actually adjust these so I can spread these apart and I can get a bar in here that's 24-inch long. And the way I made this is, let's say later on if I wanted to upgrade, I can replace these tubes, and these are just 1-inch tubing, and I can then make them any size, so any width to the bar that I get. I also put a winch on it, and the winch obviously is not for this size of the saw because you don't need it. It doesn't have enough power to actually you'll stop the saw by the time you start putting a lot of pressure on it. So the winch is actually removable, and the way I did it is I have it mounted on a piece of square tubing also, and this is 1 1/4 100 wall square tubing, and it just so happens that it slides on top of the 1-inch tube quite nicely. So the paint is still pretty fresh, but it does go in nice, and it has a little bit of a slot to it. So that's why I have the locking nuts, I have them on an angle, and what this does is it actually locks it in to prevent any sort of racking movement. Otherwise, if you had one right in the center, you could still have a little bit of movement in this direction. So that's why. Some of the things that I did that maybe are not necessary is I have double screws on as clamps, and I think you could probably just get away with one, but maybe like a 1/2-inch one instead of the 2 5/16 that I put in here. This is what I had, so that's what I used, and that's why I did 2 instead of 1. So I have these eye bolts, and these are just so I can tighten them without a wrench, and it seems to be working quite fine. Obviously I have a spare bar that I just when I take out the winch I can replace it with this bar, and then I'll just push the mill instead of using the winch. This here, if you will watch, you will notice that I originally had the screws on the bottom side here, and the nuts I had on the bottom here, and then I noticed when I'm putting in the saw it was a lot better to just have them on the top, so I ended up cutting it off and I flipped it around so I can slide the saw, and I can just use the wrench without flipping the whole contraption. So obviously I'll put some clips of this in action for you, and I'm just gonna wait till I get a little bit nice weather, and we'll give it a shot and see how it works. If you ask why red, I think red will make it cut faster, so I painted it red, but not really. I just happened to have some red paint and some silver paint, so I just used it up and it turned out quite nice. A lot better than my green stuff sometimes, but I usually, for things like that, I just use whatever I have, and not really picky with the colors anyway. So yeah, so that's that, and guys, stay tuned if you want to see. I'll just put some of the clips of me welding it up, and maybe a few things. If that's the sort of stuff you like to watch, then stay tuned. Anyway, thanks for watching. got the clamps for the bar finished. This is a 1-inch square tubing. I'll be using 1 1/4 tube with 100 wall to clamp it in place. Obviously there's 2 of these. After welding, there will always be some distortion, so I want to make sure that my bar is not getting twisted when I clamp it. Obviously this is upside down right now, and there is a small amount of twist here. So what I did is I made small relief cuts in the shims. So what I could do is I can now shave the high sides and in turn make sure that my bar is not getting twisted. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's not much, but after welding it's pretty much what usually happens. And these are the 2 high sides. Okay, let's see. Okay, now the shims are coplanar, and these will follow, so I don't have to do this one, obviously. Okay. In case anyone is wondering how I mount the ladder, I'll show you. All it is an angle, and I've cut these sections off of a 1.5, actually 2-inch square tubing, and that's all I use to secure it to the ladder. And it allows me to slide them up and down the ladder, so it's nice because I can accommodate as the log changes when I'm cutting it down for different sizes. And so on the entry side, I leave myself a little bit more of the ladder sticking out, so I can hang the mill on it and I don't have to hold it as I'm going into the log. And this is another reason why I use the ladder every single time I do a slab. What it does, it lets me hang the mill before I get into the log with the chain, so it makes it a lot easier, especially with a mill this size. So I always use it now, and plus it slides a lot easier on the metal to metal, and I have wax on top of it. So also what I use is I pre-drill, and I have an impact wrench, and I made it so it's the same size for the screws that go into the log, and the same size for the nuts that secure the angle to the ladder. So that works nice for me. And what I also do sometimes is if I have some issues and the cut wasn't quite straight, I have a piece of square tubing, straight one, and what I do is I lay it on top of the ladder And then if there's any spots where I need to shim, I'll shim accordingly, so that because the ladder actually flexes, so it will sit on top of the log. Doesn't matter if it's got like a little bit of bow into it, the ladder will follow that. So what I do is I put the square tubing on it and clamp it together, and what happens then I can just shim it in places. But this one now so far is like super straight because I've done it on the one previously. So let's say I can cut a couple and then double check every 2 or so. So I don't need to do it on this one. Yeah, so first, obviously on the first one you could also check with the level. So I'll put a level on the ladder, and here I'm actually pretty good. So I'm level here, which means I'm just gonna go ahead and screw it right in. And I'll do the same on the opposite side. And that's it, that's how I do it. Show you some of the things that I will change next time around, and I will actually replace these clamps. These are 6-inch wide, and I'm going to replace them for an 8-inch, and the reason being is that the chain actually hit the screw here on the side and it dulled up the chain pretty much instantly. So I just want to give this a little bit more space here. I will also use 1/2 inch bolts and nuts as opposed to 3/8, and it seems like these are okay, but I think that if I crank them it just feels like I could break them off, so 1/2 inch will be a little bit more robust. Also, I've added an auxiliary oil bottle. This is just a bicycle water bottle holder, and this is a bottle from Tire Slime, so it's that green goo, and it's got a 1/4 inch fitting on it when you get it. So also a 1/4 inch valve. I actually open it about 1.5 turn, and it seems to give me just about right amount of oil on the chain.